Well, hello, welcome to AI for Apologetics. Today we're going to be talking about custom GPTs, which is something that I don't know how useful it is anymore because the regular just chat GPT interface has gotten to be super helpful and robust. But I think it's worth diving into because there are some special cases that it's good use. So what I'm going to do is we'll just go ahead and start with the examples like I usually do. I'm going to bust out the sidebar here. And if you look down your list of things, there's GPTs right here. Um, and now we can explore GPTs. So there's a lot of different things that you may want to look at. You can see they've got featured ones with like writing assistant, the scholar one. There's always oh look, astrology. That's a good one. What these are, and by good, I meant that was sarcasm. Um, these are basically they've taken um, kind of what they want their chat GPT interface to do, and they've built in like custom prompts ahead of time. And I've created a few, and I'm going to just run through one of them real quick, and then I'll show you the behind the scenes of how it was created. Um, so if you didn't know, I'm a cybersecurity person by day, and so I thought this would be fun to have this hacker badge thing. And what it is in the kind of hacking and security community, we can make badges. In fact, I have one here that I just 3D printed. We make badges of things just to, because it's fun and to remember stuff. And you can even have like a personal badge. If you were at CIA 2025 with me, I may have given you one of my little ducks with the commissioned thing on it. I made that using this Hacker Badge GPT. So I know that I want an image of a very specific type. And I thought to have fun, I'll go ahead and give this GPT its own personality that's got kind of that hacker vibe and is kind of, chill. So here we've got, and I came up with this idea while I was at CIA. An epic hacker badge of an otter, because in Christian apologetics and the moral argument, there's this concept of a moral ought, and I said, if there's an ought, there has to be an otter. Ought or otter. So otter. Um, so that's what my um, prompt says. You know, like usual, it's just I just type in what I want, and it's going to ask me questions. And of course, this is part of the personality. Yo, that's sick. Um, elite level Bab memeology. That's straight fire. So so there we go. So it's using, you can see that personality coming through. So let's see. It's telling me what it thinks it should be. Symbolism, he should be holding an ancient scroll. That all sounds pretty good to me. And then ask me some questions. Um, and let's see. Let's have him be philosophical. Um, yes, let's have the text because people won't get it if there's no text. It can be a circle for simplicity. Um, let's do cyberpunk colors, and you can have a scroll, but no cyber stuff. Let's say cyber stuff. And let's see if it doesn't think that's enough, then it'll ask me more questions. If it does, it's going to generate me an image. So now we'll come back and take a look at that later, because now I'm going to go and in the GPTs, um, you can see I have pinned over to the side. There's a Charles Spurgeon one. That was one of the very first things I did whenever I discovered GPTs is I searched for Charles Spurgeon. Um, my window for some reason, there we go. It hasn't been the search hasn't been updating very quickly, but see, we've got a lot of different versions of the Charles Spurgeon bot. This is the one I found that I started using first. I don't know Jason Hansen. Anybody can create these. Anybody with a paid account can create these and make them public. They do have some restrictions around what can and can't be public, but for the Spurge, so much of his stuff is just out there and it's basically free. It's public domain. I mean, not everything, but there's a lot out there. And so what this person did is used a ton of Spurgeon content. He's got a lot of published letters, published sermons, and fed it in to GPT in the background and told it to speak with Spurgeon's personality. And so I'm going to just start with one of these samples suggested prompts. How do you view the role of prayer? So we'll check that out and see what it says. Um, let's see how it starts. It's like not your regular chat GPT. It's actually speaking in a style that is very, very much like how Spurgeon wrote and preached. Um, and so, oh, my Otter badge design is ready to go. Um, and so I'm going to switch the model to 5 just because. Um, so we've got a general, how do you view the role of prayer? And now what I like to do with Spurge and I've asked, he doesn't like it when you call him that. But let's take it to another level. Say, what about to someone who is deep in the pit of grief? They are unable to even look up. Darkness is everywhere. So we know that Spurgeon dealt with these kinds of things, even though he was, great preacher and very prolific, but he was acquainted with grief and sorrow, and you see how he hits this relationally, um, and and there we go. So, and now we've got, if you cannot look up, then lie still at the foot of the cross. If you cannot frame a prayer, let your tears fall where his blood once flowed. Man, that's good stuff. For he understands the language of weeping. Um, so. That's really cool. And now, if you want to get really creeped out, would you like me to share a prayer suited for such a valley of grief? Ever had a computer pray for you? And now he actually writes out a prayer. Um, And I just, yeah, I don't know. There's something about that for me that's creepy. Um, so let's go back and look at my otter and see what he looks like. There we go. There's my otter badge design. Believe it or not, I've made a few otters. This one's pretty cool. I tend to make ones that I can print. Like this one that I can 3D print, and the otter that's on the screen here is not. You know, not one I could print just because it's so many colors and there's so much shading. But if I wanted it to be printable, then I would just tell it that, and it would be. So there we go. It got moral law on there. It got otter on there. It got the words and text on there, right? So. There we go. So that's two GPTs we've looked at, but let's peek behind the scenes. So I do have a paid account. You have to have a paid account to do this. So up in the top right here, I've got my GPTs, and you can see the ones that I've written. And let's go into this Hacker Badge one. Um, Whenever you want to create one, you actually just go to this create. Um, tab, and you can just interact with it just like you would ChatGPT. You don't have to have a fancy config file. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just start chatting with it, and as you chat with it, it'll learn what to do, and it'll put it over this configure side. So we have a name, description, and then the instructions. And if you noticed in whenever I did it, it suggested keyboards and lockpicks. It's because they're in the instructions. And I say it should interact in a playful tone using leet speak to enhance the hacking theme. Provide design suggestions, because the design suggestions, if you're not somebody that is a graphic designer or something, then the feedback, when it says, "Okay, I understand what you want. Would you like this other stuff too?" is can be super helpful. So that's really all there is to it. And this all came from me chatting with it over on this Create tab. I've got this other one that I was going to show everybody, this Hermit. Because it's hermeneutics, it's interpreting Christian scripture. And so I've got this one where it provides sound biblical insights based on sound principles of biblical interpretation. This is something I'm pretty passionate about. And so I don't want to just get into ChatGPT, just an open prompt and say, hey, what does such and such a verse mean? But it can be handy to use if you use it properly. So this offers thoughtful insights and da 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 da. It's got a ton of information here because I worked pretty hard to make sure that this would be good and useful. So if I get into this, I just want to show you an example. Let's test it against something. What's a good verse that let's see. Let's do explain. I'm going to say Psalm 22, not 23, because this is, I don't know, this is a fun one because it starts out, those first words look kind of familiar, right? My God, why have you forsaken me? So it's a lament of Psalm. It tells us when it was written, expresses deep anguish and abandonment. It's also a messianic psalm because it points directly to Jesus. And then it gives us the theme and the flow. And then at the end, it shifts to praise and hope, just like we all do whenever we look to Jesus. Um, and so we've got all the stuff. So let's see. Um, can you tell me more about how this relates to Jesus and the work he did on the cross? See, it'll do that like sound interpretation, but then you can ask it additional questions. It points forward to the Messiah's suffering and glory. Um, and yeah, so it just walks through all that. Um, there we go, what it means for us today. And so how that ties to Jesus. What if I want to do something completely different? Let's see. How does the narrative of who do we want to pick? Jacob, uh, point to Jesus. Be specific. Let's see what it does there. It's rich with themes, symbols, and events that foreshadow the life and work of Jesus. Um, Jacob himself is not always a moral example. He's deceitful and selfish. Um, so he's chosen by grace, not merit, because he was not um, the first son. The ladder is a stairway to heaven. Um, and so we have Jesus referring to that. The wrestling match. So it's understood to be a theophany, substitution, the well, the rolling away of the stone. I like this one. Jacob arrives at the well, meets Rachel. Jacob rolls the stone away and waters the flock. That foreshadows the stone rolling away from Christ's tomb. Um, Jesus removes the stone of death and offer. Let's dig into that one a little bit more. Blessing those nations. Um, dig into the moving of the stone. Any more about the parallels and how Jesus is better than Jacob. See what it says. Yeah, so here, stone blocked the well. Jesus should block the grave. Jacob removes the stone. Uh, Jacob waters the sheep. Jesus, the good shepherd, gives not just water, but living water to his people. Jacob meets Rachel, his future bride, at the well. This echoes earlier patterns and foreshadows. Jesus, too, meets a woman at the well in John 4, but this is no ordinary mate. So the church is the bride of Christ. So one of the things that is it's not pulling out here, and I just have to mention because it's cool, is that when we look at and I didn't intend for this to be a Bible lesson, but when we look at Jacob versus Jesus, Jacob acted with strength and passion for Rachel. Why did he go after Rachel? Well, because she was pretty. She was easy on the eyes as opposed to her sister, and so. Jacob was doing this for, the beautiful one. And when you think of Jesus and what he did, who did he come for? Well, all of us. I mean, he came for everyone. And but we're all ugly, we're all broken, we're all not worthy of what Jesus did. And so I don't know, I think that's a real interesting parallel of how Jesus is greater than Jacob, is that Jacob came for his beautiful bride and Jesus came for us, his ugly bride. So didn't mean to go there, but there we are. We're there and we'll stay there. So this is yeah, just another GPT that I have where you can really dive into scripture and see things. I mean, it doesn't tell you everything, but it can be real helpful and it's quick. Um, and like everything in ChatGPT, you don't want to take this as like ultimate truth. You want to sanity check it, and another um, principle of sound hermeneutics is you check what you understand against the rest of scripture, or what you find against the rest of scripture. So use this how use it, but take it with some caution. Um and I did want to mention, I also have this other one here. Can where it's I don't this one's not public, but this is one that I made just for fun, that I don't actually use that much anymore, but it was kind of fun when it started, because it was one of my first GPTs to make. But what I did is I exported all of my blog posts up to the June 12th of last year, um, into a JSON file, which is just a specific text file. It's a formatted text file. So it had all of my writing in there that I've posted on gracetruthcoffee.com, and I uploaded it there. And the yeah, I did the same kind of defining things, and then it's supposed to sound like me, my writing style. Does it? Well, no, but it's not too bad. So, like, why are we here? That's a question I would ask. And then this is supposed to come back in my writing style. Um, so it actually references some of my things that I've done, that I've written. I can tell you, I've said this on other videos. I don't tend to do bullet points in my thing um, in my blog posts. So this isn't exactly my style, but it's like that Spurgeon bot, except me. Um, Now, it doesn't have as robust of a library as the Spurgeon one does, and maybe that's why it's not as great as the Spurgeon one. But that just shows you some examples of what you can do, and of course, you can always go to the regular GPTs. As we've seen in other videos, you can get in to just your regular chat GPT interface and say, role play a Muslim and I'm going to talk to you, right? And it'll do that, or a Mormon or whatever. But if you look up Mormon here, it's going to have some different Mormon GPTs that you can get and interact with, ask it questions, and it's not going to get angry or frustrated or annoyed at you. It's just going to answer your questions, and so that can be a helpful thing too. So I think we'll call it there. Those are some GPTs, what you can do with them. They were real big for a while, and then I feel like they're kind of waning, just because um, ChatGPT and the other AI tools are getting just better by themselves. So we don't need this right for me thing or the Scholar GPT. It sounds cool, but really it doesn't do a lot that regular ChatGPT doesn't already do for you. So anyway, as always, thank you for watching these videos, and I appreciate the feedback. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them. I'll try and get to them. If you have something you'd like to see me do in a future video, then let me know. But thanks for coming along on this adventure with AI and apologetics.